Isn't it against the law to write on the walls?
Yeah, but the cops looking for us to write on the wall, and there's other things out in the street doing worse than this. Now they got a bad thing going on, about $500 fine.
What do you write on the wall when you write on it?
Me 163, Raby 954, a lot of things.
What does that all mean, those numbers?
My building number is 954, I live on 163rd Street. Me from me 163. A lot of things, like Taki 183 lives on 183rd Street, so he write Taki, that's his nickname, he ate 183rd Street.
I was just wondering, when I was a youngster, I didn't write on the walls. Is it, you just like to see your name there?
Some people do. Somebody just write it for fun. Everybody else writes their name, so somebody else start writing, the whole group starts going together, right? Layup check 145th Street, 225th Street in the Bronx.
Did you ever get caught?
Twice.
What'd they do to you?
When I got caught, there was nothing else. I got caught by Officer Swartz, the other paper, when it was in the paper before, by Raby 954, the underground superstars. I got caught by him, but he ain't do nothing to us. We just went to court one day. And we didn't even go in front of the judge.
Walk down this way a little bit. We got to move on. And what happened?
They ain't do nothing to us. We just sat in court. He didn't want to go in front of the judge. That's why we write, to give the city a hard time.
Why do you want to give the city a hard time?
They don't give us no more programs to go to, no more tournaments, nothing like that to go into.
You think there's nothing to do?
There ain't barely nothing to do no more. But right on the subway, and if you out in the street, you get on drugs and everything else.
I mean, you think it's better to write on subway walls than take drugs, is what you're saying?
Yeah, to me it is. I'd rather write on the wall and take drugs and stay out in the streets and everything, or go into a program or training home or something like that. Nobody wants to go in it no more.
What happened the second time you got caught?
Second time I got caught, the same thing happened again. When we went into the precinct, he grabbed us all. We went into the precinct. There was a whole, everybody was inside, like they got a cage inside the precinct. And it was crowded inside with other writers, so he felt sorry that he took us over there because we had to stay there a long time. But he was glad anyway because he had a day off.
The city...
Keep pockets in here. You just put it on or put paint in your sleeve, put it on your pants. The cop don't search between your legs or in your socks no more. They just go like this and everything. You still got a mark on you. But it is hard. If you catch you now, they don't give you no slack.
But you're still doing it. How old are you?
14.
Thanks a lot, man. Okay, we got some cutaways. Just talk to me in general about anything, because I just need your mouth, going. Where are you going now?
Home. Go home. I just came from Writer's Corner with a whole bunch of writers. Stitch one and Snake one, the rest of them.
What's Writer's Corner?
There's a whole bunch on the subway, Writer's Corner, where they just wash it off now. Understand? A whole bunch of writers hang out on one corner. And they write writers like the ex-Vanos, Tip Top ex-Vanos, and the rest of them. There's a whole...
Oh, yeah, okay. Where'd you say you came from? What's the Writer's Corner? Tell me about that.
Writer's Corner is 188th Street, right out there with a whole bunch of writers. Snake one, Stitch one, Cat 87. A whole bunch of writers, just like the ex-Vanos, a group.
You mean subway wall writers? They hang out there?
Everybody hangs out there. They come down, like, everybody wanted to be in the ex-Vanos, a whole group of writers.
Doesn't it get all over your hands?
If the cops see anything on you, on your hands or anything like that. Only thing I do, like, they have an ink, a cleansing ink. The only thing I do is ink it right off, wash it right off with the Flowmaster ink, cleanser.
Okay, son, thank you.
Rest in peace to Raby 954, a.k.a. Me 163. He was 14 years old in this interview, and it was at the 191st Street station, and ABC News was reporting on the graffiti scene at the time, and they interviewed Raby. In this interview, he says a whole lot. Talks about how he got caught twice by Officer Schwartz. He talks about Taki 183 briefly and mentions how the 183 meant that was Taki's street number. He mentions the 145th Street layups, the 225th Street layups. He says the city took away all the after-school programs and tournaments, and he would rather write graffiti than walk in the streets, hang in the streets, and do drugs. Raby talks about how the Writer's Corner was a popular spot on 188th Street in Washington Heights. He mentions Stitch 1. He mentions Snake 1. He mentions the ex-vandals. He also talks about washing Flowmaster ink off of his hands. But most importantly, I want folks to remember how he says all the after-school programs and tournaments that they used to have for the children were removed. This was going on throughout the 1970s in all of New York City. And then they wondered why the kids were writing their names on the trains and on walls. And Ray B comes right out and says, yes, I'd rather write my name on the trains than do drugs. And he looked the cameraman and the news reporter straight in the eyes when he said that. He was serious. I want to take a moment to mention CHARMIN 65 and to shout her out. CHARMIN 65 and Ray B 954 were very, very close. I have a photograph of a train that they did together, and you'll see Ray B was riding his AKA, me 163rd. And you'll also see pictures of Ray B with CHARMIN and everybody from the UGA at the Joffrey Ballet. And we're talking about Hugo Martinez is in the picture, Mike 171, SJK 171. You'll see Coco 144 in the picture. You see a bunch of kids in the picture. CHARMIN is sitting in the front. These are classic pictures, and these are the classic writers that bring it from the walls to the train tile walls, to the insides of the trains, and then to the outsides of the trains. Ray B and CHARMIN 65 were both in United Graffiti Artists, with SJK 171, whose triple outline in multicolors was the inspiration for K161 and Junior 161, when they would blow that outline style up 6 feet tall on the tunnel wall right before the one train enters into the tunnel going south to the 116th Street train station. So they were inspired by that triple outline, and they sat back and looked at it, and Kay said, this is a masterpiece. So once again, that entire culture begins in Manhattan. Although Ray B and CHARMIN 65 were from the Bronx, they are obviously then some of the very first Bronx writers to start the hit to trains. CHARMIN 65 is hitting the trains before Phase 2, a whole year before Phase 2. And CHARMIN was on the tracks, she was in the layups, she was in the train yards. CHARMIN 65 was official. Ray B 954 was a very close friend of hers. Here is a newspaper article from the New York Times, March 3rd, 1973. And it's all about the Joffrey Ballet. That show was titled Deuce Coupe. It was on page 17 in the New York Times that Saturday. And here you can see Ray B 954 and CHARMIN 65, along with some of the other artists from UGA, and their names are in the article. I'm going to put the article up so everybody can read it. And keep in mind, this is the New York Times. People around the world were reading about these kids, performing and doing their artwork in the background while the ballet dancers were dancing to songs by the Beach Boys. This was very, very new, and this is the first time ever that a music and dance culture will reach out to young graffiti artists to display their work. And let's keep in mind, these were ballet dancers, not b-boys. The music was the Beach Boys, not breakbeat DJs. I think people need to have an understanding of this so that they can get a better grasp on the fact that this was a complete culture. And I'm talking about the New York City writers movement. It was a complete culture. Long before we hear anything about hip-hop culture, it's about time people do have a better understanding about this movement and the fact that it was its own outlaw art movement and its own culture with its own bylaws, its own terminology, okay, its own way of being. And we have to remember that. I want to say shout out to Charmin 65 and rest in peace to Ray B 954. You will always be remembered.